Well, thank you for watching this talk from Tools with a Mission this Christmas time. We're really excited this Christmas to be part of the Christmas Big Give Appeal for the very first time, where all people who support it find their gifts will be matched and doubled. So double the impact this Christmas time. What a tremendous opportunity for all of us. And I think for many of us, we see just getting to Christmas has been quite an achievement. Certainly for Tools with a Mission, we are incredibly grateful for the way the Lord has provided for us, led us, and brought us to this point in our lives. And in many ways, the Christmas story is about the Lord providing and leading and watching over Mary and Joseph, so they in turn can provide and watch over Jesus. It is that beautiful gift that God chooses to use us and chooses to work through us. So let's read just a small portion of the story from Matthew 2:11 to 15 as the Magi leave Herod. On coming to the house, the Magi saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to go back to Herod, they returned to their country by another route. When they had gone, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream. "Get up," he said, "take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you, for Herod is going to search for the child to kill him." So he got up, took the child and his mother during the night and left for Egypt, where he stayed until the death of Herod. And so was fulfilled what the Lord had said through the prophet, "Out of Egypt I called my son." Now the Magi probably visited at least a year after Jesus was born. He's not described as a baby, but as a child. Mary and Joseph are not in a stable, but a house. And Herod orders the death of all boys under 2 years old. So it's probably a year or so since he was born. So we might ask, well, why haven't Mary and Joseph gone home to Nazareth? Why are they still in Bethlehem? Well, it's probably because they don't have a home to go to, because they would have been completely rejected and shamed by their family, because he's married seemingly an unfaithful woman. So he has no home to return to. And his rejection probably would have been that severe, as he copes with total family rejection, similar to that described by Jesus in the parable of the prodigal son, where he shamed his family so much that they actually considered him dead. And the father says that, "This son of mine who was dead to me." Family rejection really would have been that severe and that tragic for Joseph. It no doubt explains why they're left walking the streets at night with nowhere to stay. They would have expected to stay with their extended family, but every door has been slammed on them. Hence, in this terrible state of near giving birth, they're left walking the streets, desperately trying to find somewhere to stay. So we can understand why they perhaps didn't go back to Nazareth, but decided to stay in Bethlehem. Not easy for a shamed young couple, but made a lot easier because Joseph had a skill he could turn to look after him. And still in the developing world, a skill like a carpenter will help you survive almost anything. Which brings us to our first gift, the gift of skills and tools. Joseph would have been thrilled by what Tools with a Mission does. He would be over the moon if he was offered one of our carpentry kits. He would understand the importance of learning a trade, understand the importance of having the right tools and having someone to help you set up your own business. He would know what a precious gift they truly are. And in Africa today, where we work, he would recognize many of the workshops. Many are still just a homemade bench under a tree or a shack that has been put together. Now, one young carpenter I met earlier this year will get on very well with Joseph. This is Mohinder. They will have many stories to swap of good times and of bad times. Joseph would recognize his small workshop that he made himself. And they get on well, firstly, because they both love carpentry, but also because they both understand rejection, the struggles of being alone, and what it's like to be driven from your home. Mahinda too is surrounded by people who hate him and want to kill him, and everyone in his community he lives by the Rwenzori Mountains on the border between DR Congo and his home in Uganda. You can see the mountains in the background, and they are in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And living in them still are rebel groups which come down and commit terrible massacres in Uganda. And in recent history, the town he lives in developed out of a refugee camp, which has stories of abuse and rape and persecution that are truly awful. And they live in constant fear of the rebels coming back. He would sympathize with Joseph about how hard it is to survive when everything's against you, and how completely life-changing it is when you have a skill and tools. For disaster could befall Mahinda again at any time, just as it befell Mary and Joseph, when the Magi unwittingly alert King Herod to the presence of Jesus, and the result is terrible violence. Now, thankfully, God warned Joseph in a dream to flee to Egypt, but that's easier said than done, for long-distance travel isn't cheap. Setting up home from scratch and re-establishing a business takes a lot of money. And thankfully, we see in the second gift, God provides that through the Magi, the gift of provision. And again, it's that pattern of the Lord providing for them through people, in this case, Magi, as they turn up and provide for their family with these wonderful gifts. And again, it's a wonderful example of the Lord using people, from the rich and the powerful Magi to the poor and the lonely shepherds, to achieve great things for him, for the morally upright carpenter to the seemingly loose and immoral young girl. So our third gift is actually the gift of privilege, the privilege of being used by God to transform someone's life. So we see we have these gifts, the gift of skills and tools, the gift of provision, the gift of privilege. And Mahinda, his gift came through a church. For Mahinda's gift of skills and tools, because one small church in the refugee camp captured the vision of God to make a difference by opening a carpentry skills training centre. It changed his life and his future just as much as this skill changed Joseph and the future of his little family. Just the same, for with nowhere to go and nowhere to turn to, Mahinda's skill and tools saved him. Which brings us to our next gift, the gift of help. For this portion of the Christmas story shows that we all need help sometimes. And sometimes we don't need a lot of help. We just need someone to give us the tools to get our lives back on track. For Mary and Joseph, those tools were actually quite large. Gold, frankincense and myrrh, but they had a lot of expense to cover. For Mahinda, it was a bit more realistic, a carpentry kit. And the challenge for all of us on this part of the Christmas story is twofold. What can we give to change someone's life? And just as importantly, what can we receive to change ours? But there's no point everyone wanting to give if nobody is humble enough to want to receive. And it's recognizing that God so often chooses to provide his gifts, his provision, his protection through each of us. For some today, it may be a food parcel, perhaps advice, perhaps just a listening ear, someone to visit, someone to pray with. We don't have to be Magi. The people who are noticed, the people who are important in order to be used. We can be shepherds, the forgotten people, the people that many choose not to notice, because God chooses both. But in all honesty, he tends to choose shepherds more often than he chooses Magi. So we can ask ourselves, what am I giving? What am I receiving? Because if you're not, you could be denying yourself the joy of all that God wants to do in you and through you. There's an interesting little detail in this story when the angel says to Joseph, "Get up, take the child and his mother and escape to Egypt. Stay there until I tell you." Now, most scholars agree that Mary and Joseph stayed in Egypt for 2 to 3 years until Herod died. And the angel says, "I want you to go to Egypt, but I'm not leaving you there. I'm staying with you. I'm watching over you, and I'm going to stay with you until I can tell you to come back home again." What an incredibly beautiful picture of the faithfulness of God. And Jesus promised us the same, didn't he? He's prepared to go to the cross in John 14:18. He says, "I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you." It's very similar wording. It's that final gift in this story. It's a gift of Emmanuel, God with us. So we have that wonderful provision of gifts, the gift of schools and tools, the gift of provision, the gift of privilege, the gift of help, and the gift of God with us. Now, for Tools with a Mission, as we prepare for the Christmas Big Give, is to ask you to consider a gift to a modern day family like Mary and Joseph, a modern day family facing hardship and struggle like never before. We can hardly imagine the impact of COVID-19 on people like Mahinda and those we serve in Africa. They too find they've lost everything, and they need the gift of skills and tools to rebuild their lives. And they need those tools now, like they've never needed them before. And the Christmas story is about giving and receiving. So will you help us to give tools this Christmas to so many in need, so they can rejoice, because through us, almost being the modern day Magi, the Lord can lead us to the people who need us the most. And together we can transform ever more lives. As I said, we're thrilled to be part of the Christmas Big Give this year, where every pound you give is matched and doubled. What a great incentive to all of us. Now, you can link to the Christmas Big Give page from our website. Or if you can't give online, you can ring us or email us for other ways to give. But match funding has to be done through the Big Give website. So I wish you, from all of us at Tools with a Mission, a very happy Christmas from Mahinda and the love that he sends to you from Africa. And may we pray together that we have a very happy and a very blessed Christmas as we receive and also as we give. Thank you.